Does anybody know what an acquired brain injury means? I found that there's a big misconception to others what it means. Like spinal injuries, yes, like generally speaking, if you are a quadriplegic, from the neck down or from the shoulders down or wherever, you can't move, you can't feel anything. It's a little bit different. I'm not quite the normal case for that. I am an incomplete quadriplegic. I was originally, the doctors thought that I was going to be paralyzed from the neck down, but yay, they were wrong. The acquired brain injury part of it, like I damaged my head pretty bad on the temporal lobe, that's either side, and the frontal lobe and the optical nerve in the brain, which I can do some pretty weird things with my eyes with that. And the misconception that people have with being in a wheelchair, the fact is that people think there is no movement from the wherever down. It's sometimes the case, but sometimes it's not. There is so much of a variation between lots of different sorts of spinal injuries. Like there is, and you can be, I think there's 27 vertebrae in the spine. And I'm not going to go through all of them because there are so many, but I'm the C4 to 5, and hello, my cat's come to say hello. And the C4 to 5 is, get your tail out of my face. The C4 to 5 vertebrae is just around the shoulder blades, and from there down and around that area should be absolutely nothing. But I was, get your ass out of my face, cat. I was lucky enough to not have that verdict, so yay. Yeah, just wanted to touch base with that. So from my injury down, I do have sensation. There is limited sensation in this thumb compared to this thumb. There's another video that I filmed it last month, and if you want to see that, just click right here and click that link, and it'll go to, her name's Heidi. I'll put a link in the description to her YouTube channel. She is a paraplegic. She, from the chest, or just from the chest down, she's a complete. So she's more of the so-called typical general paraplegics that, like a lot that I've met, especially when I was in rehab, they can't. I met one guy, he could feel a little bit from the injury down, but he couldn't move. I met one guy, he couldn't move, he couldn't feel anything from his injury down, but he could walk. It was I think his spinal nerves were severed, not his actual spine, so he was one of the very lucky ones. There was one girl that I met, her name was Amy, I think, and she had like a birth defect or something, that she just woke up one morning and she just sort of collapsed, and so she can't feel anything from the waist down, and she's quite young, so that was pretty scary. I had my injury when I was 17, and yeah, it was a big change from knowing what I knew then. Like I didn't really have that much of a life at that point, but I only had until I was 17, so life experience up until I was 17, and then sort of just swapped it all around to learn how to walk again. Well, I didn't get to learn how to walk again. I sort of tried, but I'm still going at that. I'm determined that hopefully maybe I might get there, but that's little stepping stones, little baby steps, so to speak. So when I had my injury, I had to learn how to talk again, how to breathe again. I had a tracheostomy, this little scar just here. That's a tracheostomy. When I was in a coma, it was just a tube, a feeding tube, breathing tube that went in there, down all the way into my lungs to learn how to breathe again. And so I had to learn how to breathe again, how to talk again, because with the tracheostomy and I couldn't actually talk. So it took a while for me to learn how to talk again. And then I had to learn how to eat. I had to learn how to feed myself. I had to learn how to swallow. I had to learn how to write, how to read, how to draw, how to do everything all over again. And I think it took about 5-6 months until I could move this finger, the little finger. I regained a little bit on that finger. This finger I can sort of move, but not quite. I had to learn how to move my toes, and I remember a funny story when my dad told it to me, and he said that this was when I was in Royal North Shore, he said he was giving me a foot massage. I can vaguely remember it. It was so, my brain was damaged a little bit. I lost a bit of memory in that point. And he was massaging my feet, and he went to squeeze like my little toe or something, and I made a like, ooh, ow, sort of. And he showed the nurses and said, like, listen, she can feel that. She can feel her legs. And they sort of didn't believe him. And then they sort of covered my face up so I couldn't see. And he did it again, and I did the same thing. So that's when they realized, oh wow, she has feeling. And eventually, bit by bit, I got a bit more movement in my feet, and my circulation sucks. That's the only really annoying thing. Right now it's just turning into winter. It's May at the moment, and just the start of May, and it is so freezing. My feet, absolutely freezing. I've got to put slippers on later. That's a little bit tricky to do, but it's taken me 6.5 years to learn how to put slippers on. But it's a little bit tricky. I sort of have to tilt the chair back and lean forward so that I don't lose balance and fall out. So yeah, that was probably the biggest thing, to learn all that all over again. Trying to learn the confidence is really hard because I wasn't quite as confident. I got bullied at school, and I wasn't that confident when I was 17 when I had my accident. So learning it all over again, and then learning to gain confidence in myself after an injury at such a young age was really hard. And it's been a big life-changing thing. Like, if I could go back and change it, I would, but you know, life goes on, and it's like you can't change everything. So sometimes you just gotta suck it up, grin, bear it, and live the life that you've been given. I know I've met a lot of people in my time since my accident, even before. Like, I've met people in wheelchairs, and I didn't understand it quite as much as I do now. Now I can emphasize so much more, and I can understand, and I know that it's not a big deal to go up to people and say, and actually ask them. If you see somebody in a wheelchair or you get into a conversation with them, don't be afraid to ask them. Well, for me anyway, I don't mind if people ask me. Something else that it's taken me a little while to get used to is my power wheelchair. This, my chair at the moment, this one is new. I got it a couple of years ago. It goes a lot faster than the original power chair that I was given when I was in rehab, and yeah, the other one was sort of like a little snail. It just go so slow. This one can, don't tell anybody. It's not supposed to go any faster than 10 k's an hour, but it goes 12.5, which is technically speeding, and I should have to have a license for that. But I'm pretty good. The only time I've ever run into people is when they sort of step in front of me, and I feel dreadful. I don't ever do it on purpose. I've probably driven over a friend's foot a few times. Not intentional. I've never done it intentionally, but that's just one of those things that you got to get used to. The biggest thing that was probably the hardest thing to get used to is the amount of time it takes to get ready in the morning. All in all, probably about 2.5 to 3 hours in the morning to get ready. So it's a little bit of a bummer, but you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, you know. So yeah, So I can't think of anything else to say, so I'm just gonna wrap this up. Yeah, any questions? Feel free to ask, and yeah, ask.